Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Tuesday, September 28th, and it's all going off. In this episode, Arsenal destroy Spurs.
Sure did.
Liverpool, Brentford was bonkers. City have a tectonic technical masterclass versus Chelsea. Oh, and United lose to Aston Villa for the first time at home since like 1830. But Mike, you're a week away from your days away from being married. But how did you experience the worst London derby in your time as a Spurs fan, I'd have to say?
It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the tail end of my bachelor party. I had a couple of beers at a bar out here on Long Island, which is where I'm coming to everybody from today. It's like where in the world is Mike? It's the last time you saw me. I was in New
Live from
Jersey.
Long Island.
Live from Long Island. Yeah. Not great. I saw the lineup. I was encouraged. And then almost immediately after kickoff, I went, oh, this is going to go poorly. And it wasn't so much what Spurs did or didn't do or what Arsenal did or didn't do. It just felt like there was no Englishness is what we say all the time, but there was no drive from Spurs.
Nothing.
And the only time you really saw it was Sonny scored to make it 3-1 in the 80th
He seemed
minute.
to be in the game.
Yeah, he was around, but I mean, he grabbed the ball, right? He was like yelling at players, which is sort of like a Højbjerg thing.
You know what you need to do? You need to go find the Jamie Carragher coverage of this
Yeah, I
game.
did. I saw it.
Dude, I didn't realize it because I'm not clever enough. They literally had no midfield. It was
They decided
Højbjerg.
they were like, we're going to give you. I was about to get into it. Thank you for bringing
Yeah.
it up. There's actually a still I saw on Twitter of each place that Nuno has managed before, including Wolves being his last stop, obviously. And that was exactly the strategy or the lack thereof, I guess you could say. Really frustrating stuff to the point where Arsenal is not a good team. We're not under any illusions about that, but we made them look like fucking Globetrotters.
They did. They looked amazing.
You know,
But it was.
I just don't understand. And I don't know that it's players. I don't know that it's the tactics. I think it's a little bit of all. But it's been a weird 36, 48 hours on Spurs Twitter, if you will, because
It's
of
Nuno
course
out,
everybody's
of
got the
course.
pitchforks out for
Yeah.
Nuno, which is
It's
sort
fine.
of understandable.
How's
It's
the
Kane's
How's the
fault.
powder in stuff going?
Oh no! Well, have you heard the latest on that?
No.
Okay, so everybody's like, yeah, I mean, like, look at Brighton, you know, blah 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 blah. And it came out. I think Matt Law had this, and it was that Potter didn't have any interest in working with Daniel Levy as his reputation rose. So this guy's not, if that's to be believed, then this guy is basically saying like, "Yo, I'm gonna get the United job. Like, fuck out of here.
Yeah, fuck out of here.
I'm not dealing with you."
Or, so my latest job for him, like, he's moved from he should go to Newcastle to Everton to now I'm like, when Rodgers gets fired, he's going to take the Leicester job.
Leicester
They're going to
would be
win the
great
league.
for him. Leicester would be great for him. Yeah.
Because that's a well-run club. Anyway, but yeah, so I watched it as well, and all I could think was, like you said, Arsenal are not this good. It wasn't like Lisa was watching it with me, and I just kept saying, yeah, I'm watching this team. I'm like, this is a shit version of City, like a slow version of
Exactly.
it.
It's like
slow
they hang
City,
their hat on being exactly.
right? And then I didn't quite get. I wish I had the real tactical understanding like that. You can see from Carragher, but I was like, where the fuck is everybody?
Yeah.
They're just like going through the team, and I felt compelled to sort of call out Ali, but he just seemed to be in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he was running hard. I just want them to get stuck in. Like, who from Spurs, like, put a boot in on somebody? Nobody.
Well, and that's the thing is that, I already said his name once on the show today. Højbjerg was as guilty as anybody. And
you'd expect him to do something. And right, you had that dive thing, like Spurs fan. I mean, did he get fouled? But in this season's climate, no, it was barely a foul. It was a Shaka foul. You've seen him called, you've seen him not called. You know what I mean?
I think that was pretty textbook, but I think that was, that was a footnote, really.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and cry about that because, shit, okay, then it's sort of a game at that point. But like,
it was comprehensive. It was an Arteta game that he needed. And remember, we talked about it early on. I've flip-flopped 7 times on Arsenal, but we talked about after they lost, they needed 12 from 5.
Mhm.
I think they're on 12 now, or they're on 9.
and they've got at least 1 or 2 of those games left. So
Right. And we were like, oh my God, they could drop points to Spurs and have to pull something out of Brighton. We were worried about Burnley. We weren't so much worried about Norwich. They only won those games 1-0 on free kicks. Like, they weathered the storm of their center backs, but it seems that Arteta has the players that he wanted. I think like this game is like, I have my guys now. This is what I wanted to play like. I've got Gabriel, I've got Tierney, I've got Tomasu, I've got Partey in the side. Yeah, Xhaka's still there. I've got Smith Rowe and Saka. I've got Aubameyang. I figured out this striker shit. We're not ever playing 2, and Laka's never playing. Done.
So Smith Rowe was good, and I think he has a lot of the players he wants. And you said this when they signed him, and it's going to take, I loved the Emerson Royal signing, but we basically passed on Tomiyasu to get him.
He's good.
He was good. He was good in breaking up a lot of the pressing. He's a 2-footed right back.
He's a fucker.
No, he's a defender.
But
he's a fullback that defends.
But he's also big. He's 6 foot.
Big
he's
guy.
not. Yeah. He's not like Tierney with his shirt tucked in. I'll never. By the way, players, never tuck your fucking shirt in. You look like a fucking nerd. Like I don't like Rodri drives me nuts because his shirt's tucked in. He doesn't even look like he's good. And you're like, you look like a spaz. Why is your fucking shirt tucked in? Now, I'm pretty sure Zinedine Zidane tucked his shirt in, so I probably might be off on this.
But he headbutted people in the chest, so he's like, he could get away with
it was Pirlo who tucked his shirt in.
It was.
Because he's an international man of mystery. But
I don't think
there's almost not that much to talk about. It's just like, what the fuck happened? It's
I think there's plenty, but I don't think
it's like a shock. It's a shock thing. It's like, wow, that went badly.
Yeah, but I you said, Arsenal's got Brighton next. I think we learned a hell of a lot more about what Arsenal is and isn't against Brighton than we did on Sunday. I don't think we learned anything about Arsenal. I think we learned a lot of things that we didn't love about Spurs. And frankly, I don't know where they go from here. Because again, and Nuno, for what he's worth,
he did fall on his sword hard.
Yeah, big time. And he's a super likable guy. And I don't think anybody will pretend that that's not the case. Is he out of his depth? Probably.
But out of his depth, what does that mean?
It means you have to have something other than, hey, Adama, go kick the ball and be faster than everybody.
Yeah,
It means you go into a game with your team sort of reeling, and you set them up
to get smoked.
To literally give away the most important part of the field. Are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
So to a man, it's not close as far as quality in those positions.
Well, it's close.
I don't think it is, but I mean, sure.
Arsenal and Spurs are about as even talent-wise as they've been. I mean, I think
those 2 11s, I thought there was a significant talent gap, and they got their shit kicked in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing is like I wanted to look at the stats and go more objective and look deeper. Before the game, Spurs were last in shots created.
Yeah, they still are.
Bad. No, they're not last anymore.
They're 19th.
Yeah, they're somewhere like 18th.
Okay.
But that's bad, and it calls to not that Kane should be that, but I think, and then I just sort of went back and was looking through and sort of recognizing some things and doing some Spurs work and thinking about how they were, that 16-17 or 15-16, they got the 86 points. They had like a +6. That was a champion level team. Like that is a team that could have won, right?
You mean the last year of White Hart Lane?
Right. Or whatever 16, it was.
17, yeah.
But what I noticed, the couple things that I noticed was Eriksen played every minute of every game for like 3 years.
Correct. Who's the other one?
He's Alderweireld when he was available.
Well, and the other
Kane would play all the time. Yeah.
But the other important piece that left the team, you can draw
Dembele.
a direct line.
Dembele.
Yeah. You can draw a direct line to his leaving the team. And he was hurt and sort of old at the end, but they never replaced him. In fact,
but it's Eriksen they never replaced.
Both of them.
Yeah,
because they replaced Dembele, ironically, with Ndombele and Lo Celso, who stink, and they never even tried to replace Eriksen. They basically said, "Hey, Kane, just go play 2 positions."
Yeah, Yeah. I think the
And they're surprised why they're
I
here.
wonder. So I have another question. Are you starting to rue not selling Kane for instead of 160? Going, you know what? Let's do
So
125.
amidst, as I mentioned, a alcohol filled weekend, I did say watching, and this could be a good segue into this game, watching Ivan Toney run roughshod over Liverpool's D. I said I would sell Kane and buy Tony and St. Maximin.
Oh, you want to talk about fun? That's fun.
Anything less than that, I still wouldn't sell Kane for. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And
Those
then,
two would be
we talked
fun.
about it. If what I put in a fake whatever number you want, 150, 300, doesn't matter. Spurs will fuck up 80% of that money.
Yeah.
So if you told me the funds from this are going to that, and there's a direct correlation between the two, I will be very sad to see him go, but I will be happy to see those two walk through the door.
Yeah.
Anything less than that is a waste of.
So I think it's a testament to Liverpool Brentford that we're not talking about City Chelsea right away, like from the top.
Oh.
I mean, Liverpool Brentford was bonkers.
I hope it's not, but that could be a game of the year candidate. It was
it was so fun. It was
I hope we get
fun.
something like that or better at some point. But if it doesn't, I'm like, that was pretty awesome.
The crowd at Brentford makes a difference, right? That sort of keeps things going. Within the first 5 minutes, or is it first 10 minutes, 2 balls cleared off the line? The first 2 chances for both teams,
both sides.
The balls were cleared off the line. Brentford goes up. This time it was I don't have the scores in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it was Mbueno first. But again,
I was talking shit about him all day.
Yeah,
I was watching this with my brother, who's a Liverpool fan. Yeah, we had Ethan Pinnock. That's who.
Right, the Jamaican who had been in the lower leagues, which is a great story.
Jota comes right back
on a header again. I just don't understand how he's always open. It drives me fucking crazy.
And then shortly after halftime, you had Salah, and you're like, okay, it's 2-1 Liverpool. They're gonna Brentford's not going away, but they're gonna assume control here.
Well, the funny thing is, Pinnock got injured on his goal because he came off after that.
Right. But Janelt 2-2, bang, and then here you go again. And Curtis Jones, I had missed the Curtis Jones goal. I saw the replay. I was like, holy, it was
pretty badass.
So again, you go, this is the second time you're like, Liverpool, okay. I mean, it's 20 minutes to see this out. Brentford's not going away, but okay, fine. And they get the late kind of broken play tying goal, and it's just the whole way through. It was frantic. It was just so much fun.
It was I think Liverpool got to experience what it's like when you go to Anfield and you're just like, what when the fuck? Saying
Brentford, I felt that like an Anfield life at the Brentford Community Stadium, which needs a better name.
It's Griffith Park. Just call it the old name.
All right, Griffith Park. We'll call it that. But no, I mean, it's they got rattled a little bit, and we saw a lot of what an absolutely outgunned Arsenal lineup of those kids walked into. And they walked into an even more hostile environment on a Friday night to start the season.
So I find illegal streams, and I watched Match of the Day on this, and Alan Shearer pointed out that he's like, I love these guys. Tony gives them someplace to go every time. They would go short, then go long, depending on what Liverpool were doing. Thomas Frank, of course, is refreshing. He's like, yeah, we want to play out the back. It's the European champions. They're the best pressing team in the world. We're going long. Like, this isn't a problem for us. But on set pieces, they have a set piece coach as well. They were flooding the back post. There was always a 3-on-2 in the back post. And everything was a scramble. And even though, both their goals, they had 2 goals off of set plays. And they were sort of scrambly goals that you play the percentages. And if you can get an extra 10 goals a year or 5 goals a year is huge.
If you're Brentford, that's the difference. It's
massive.
That's the difference between potentially the Premier League and the Championship in your first season in the Premier League since 1947.
Yeah. Amazing game. So many players that you'd want on your team from Brentford. You're just like, can I have Ayer, who was everywhere? And he comes at a center back. He's in the back post. Like, where is he going?
Yeah.
And of course, I like to point out that Trent Alexander-Arnold fucked things up. And, Liverpool gave up 3 goals, even though in my head I was like, when was the last time a team with Van Dijk gave up 3 goals? And some guy was like, they lost 7-2 to Villa. I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But that was so fun, and I'm just happy that Brentford's there. They just have like, if there's an approval rating for a team, Brentford have it. I feel really good because it was one of those ones that I've been talking about for 3 years, basically, right?
Yeah.
Almost.
No, you've been
And
driving the Brentford bus.
right. I'm like Mope, Watkins, Tony.
No, I just watching this game again, watching with my brother who's a Liverpool fan but knows his shit, right? And he's like, he can appreciate great talent. He's like, I kept telling him before the game, I'm like, dude, they're gonna show up. They're gonna show up. Like, you're gonna be annoyed at how much you like these guys by halftime. And through the whole second half, we were just like, good God, how do you root against these guys? You
can't.
You can't.
And but let's take a step back, because these are these things that I think one of the things that we like to do on the pod is highlight these moments, right? Highlight these things that don't happen in our sports. Highlight the way football creates feelings that are beyond understanding. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Why does this sport do this for not my team? Like, where you can get like, why teams do sort of get into like, we need to play the right way. Because if you're hoofing it, and there's so many nuance, like, they were hoofing it, but they were hoofing it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Or the underdog thing really kicks off and you can sense the spirit building. Like, since there's no timeouts, there's all this stuff that maybe it happens in college sports. Maybe, I don't know. I don't watch enough college football, or like a basketball moment where the team in the NCAA tournament, you get that
but
Cinderella
that's so
story.
Hyper, right? That's 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. But there's like Cinderella stories that live through a season. I think we had it 2 years ago with Sheffield. We were like, yeah, fucking go. Overlapping fullbacks forever.
I think it's because, and this is relative. Of course, winning a game in the Premier League is a massive achievement for anyone, but the difference between college football, and it's probably the closest thing we have here, is that, let's say I'm a fan of Indiana, right? Which is actually a pretty good parallel to Brentford, A, because of the red, B, because they've kind of ascended.
They're like but they're like a historically not a great football program. It's a basketball program.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, but they've ascended in the last 4 to 5 years. Good coaching, recruiting, whatever. They're sort of a giant killer in the Big Ten now, and so when they lose, they're like, that sucks. But we beat Penn State, or we beat Iowa, or whatever. So you sort of get that, but the rest of the season is sort of meaningless, right? Because you're like, we're not really playing for anything. We're just sort of happy to be higher than we were.
Yeah, we're 7-5. It's fine.
Yeah, we're going to a bowl game, right? We're going to the Holiday Bowl or whatever on December 25th. But Brentford, it's about survival, right? So you've got that added element where a point against Liverpool at home feels like a trophy, because you're like, okay, we're sitting here on what? On 8 points now, I think.
If you're on 8 points this early, you don't go down. It's weird. Like, remember we talked about it? Like, it's 40%. Like, you're good.
They're on 8 points.
They're good. They're not going.
Sorry, 9 points. Excuse me. After the draw, so they're on 9 points through 6 games. But it's about building, right? The same way that Indiana went from 2-7 or whatever to 4-5, and now they're in plus territory, and they're a contender in the Big Ten. Right.
Yeah. So it's the feeling part. It's just weird.
Right.
Like the momentum builds. You've got a few seasons with the team,
but
and it might be hard. They may not be able to replicate it. Like we're seeing, I'll just give a quick anecdote. Like Leeds this year is having a hard time.
Well, the difference between Leeds and Brentford is that Leeds has one speed. Like you said, Brentford's like, yeah, we're not going to play that way against Liverpool. Leeds is like, we don't give a fuck. We're going to, yeah, we're going to.
But Leeds is different too. They have a different historical context for Leeds, so it's a little bit of a different story.
But yeah, I mean, I also, and I always say this when we bring up the comparison, Indiana football fans, have Indiana basketball. They have the Colts on Sunday to pay attention to. Brentford fans haven't had anything to root for since 1947. Okay, like this is
not
a big
in the
deal.
league. No, yeah, but the thing is, these clubs live forever, right? They've been around. Yeah. Basically Brentford were famous for their old Griffith Park Stadium that had 4 pubs in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was what they were famous for. Yeah,
right.
My team, which got the air taken out of it by these 2 amazing games, City versus Chelsea, which was very much a really good tactical game. You felt like it was boring, but City pressed and played better than I've seen them play since I know the exact date, since January 3rd, 2019 at home versus Liverpool.
That was
They
the John
pressed.
Stones game.
Yeah, that's the John Stones game. Or you could say one of the second half of one of the PSG games. But this was
Okay.
a pressing masterclass. Tuchel really sort of got really played defensive. And one of the things that if you notice about Chelsea, aside from them winning all these games, is they don't really create that much. Lukaku scores goals when he gets chances, but they're not really creating that many chances. And they tried to nullify City again. And this time City was like, no, we're choking you out. And they played, and I want you ready for this formation? 2-2-4. They played with 4 forwards playing up high on all those Chelsea defenders.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get out. De Bruyne man marked Jorginho, so there was no outlet ball. There was no Mason Mount because he was injured. So they were just three defensive midfielders, with Conte being the furthest up. And as great as Conte is, he's not great at building out from the back.
Yeah.
So City just choked them out. And Lukaku and Werner were on their own. And whenever a ball got past the City front four, Rodri was there to cut it out. He seemed to be playing center field the way Busquets used to play for peak Barcelona, and he seemed to be where the outlet ball was going to go. And and if it did get to Werner or Lukaku, the two defenders would just stuff it out. So Laporte and Diaz were on top of him. Now, did City create a lot of chances? No, but they got their goal, and once they got their goal, they changed the way they play. They sent back. This is the new City where they can play the way they played last season. We're like, whoa, wow, what's this weird defensive version of City? This is amazing. And they actually played on the break, and of course didn't take any of their chances. But it was a dominant performance, and one that I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
And another piece was they couldn't have done this with a striker. They couldn't have pressed the way they did with Kane, because Jesus. And one of the other things was they ran, Pep's all tiki taka, whatever, but they ran. I mean, Bernardo Silva led the team in clearances and tackles. Like, he was everywhere. He would fill in for the back line if anyone came out. Like, this was a running hard performance, and it's just the first leg of the City Triple Crown they have to run. It's Chelsea away, PSG away, Liverpool away. So in 8 days, those are the 3 games we're playing.
Jesus Christ!
I'm willing to draw at PSG or Liverpool.
Of course That's the least important game right now. You're in the group stage. You're going to get through regardless.
Yeah. But I am worried about Liverpool away.
Do you see?
They're still the top team on offense in the league.
Sure. Do you see Pep sort of?
He's going to,
even though the
he has to rotate.
He has to
because
rotate
those guys ran so hard.
Now, the luxury you have of being Manchester City is that fucking rotate. Okay, we still have a better team than 90% of our opposition, but you run into a situation where PSG is like, no, you don't, not today. So,
well, not this time. I mean, if it's Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, by the way, it's not working right now. But hey,
that's who's coming back when we fire Nuno? Yeah, I'm back around on that.
Yeah, I think the culture of the team revolves around PSG. That is, revolves around Neymar, who's never listened to any coach, and he was why that team's bad. He left there, and they never did anything since he got there. So that's just me.
And the only runs they've really gone on in the Champions League was with him at hurt, right?
Yeah. So, well, they made the final
2 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he hurt? I'm going to pretend
ago.
he was hurt. It makes more sense that way for me.
But I do think City will rotate and go. They'll do a front line of Mahrez, Torres, and Sterling. Whereas just now we just did. By the way, Foden played the 9, like I've been saying.
I know. I saw. I didn't see the game, but I saw.
He was really good. He didn't really get any chances to do anything, and it was the first time you could see the physicality of just like Rudiger just pushing him over. You're like, oh yeah, he can't really be
right.
But City were really good again. I think, and Grealish was really good. I just think one of the problems that City has is there is the lack. It's very not robotic. It's like a it's like a beautiful sort of like, yeah, a beautiful German car. It's like, yeah, it's a Mercedes-Benz. Classic. Okay. But it's not like a Ferrari and makes loud noises.
Right. It's not.
It's just like, it's just precision and cool and smooth and like a beautiful modern art piece or a building. It doesn't have any, City doesn't have feelings.
Right.
So, and you don't love any of the guys. I mean, Grealish brings something, but it's very
Even
hard.
Grealish seems like he's been muted a bit,
by
the shirt.
Yeah, it is weird with City. I think that's one of the issues that they're going to have. And what my hypothesis in my head is that the management of City is like, it's all about winning, right? And like, no, not always.
You
right?
need a little bit of
something.
Well, what's the
it's not drama.
Name? No, the Hawks coach from Mighty Ducks, right? It's not worth winning if you can't win big. Like you kind of need like one of those guys where it's like,
yeah, like there's no Saint-Maximin. There is a little bit. There's a little bit in Diaz. Diaz has a little bit of juice.
But it's hard to have it from that position.
Yeah. There's no Eric Cantona. There's no swag. There's no like guy who's gonna score a goal and just be like, there's no Zlatan, because Pep is the personality of the team.
Right. He's the Zlatan.
And he sucks all the air out of it. So it's kind of weird. And I think one day they'll need like a brand manager to be like, no, we're badass.
Yeah.
Whereas PSG are going that route where it is all about brand and the winning is too easy in a weird way, even though. So, I mean, we'll see. I think maybe City just needs to win the Champions League, but City will never get the juice that Liverpool gets from Anfield and the juice that United gets from Mike. Your speaker, your headphones went out.
Well, what I was saying was, thank you. What I was saying was, it's not so much about having Twitter followers or having, whatever.
No,
like
but
said,
it's
as long as Pep is in the room, he's going to continue to be that manipulative force in the room, right? So I don't know that if you brought on Zlatan and you brought on, all
he would clash. It would clash if Pep's there.
It would be
clash.
Horrible.
Yeah, that's why any players with like their own individual personality kind of clash with Pep.
Of course, but even like players like Grealish do, players like Sterling do, but they have to have it conform to the.
And he'll just bench you, and he's just like, no, you're done.
It's similar to like the Yankees like beard thing where it's like, no. Oh, hey, Garrett Cole, you have $324 million in your account, but you're going to be clean shaven because we fucking said so.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is kind of late core 4 Yankees era, like post. It's sort of like one of the things that I feel like Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden in a weird way gave that first Yankee championship. It gave them some of the dirt from the Mets that lifted that team a little bit in a weird way.
They were scrappy too. They needed that.
Well, that early era team, but yeah, it's missing juice. It's missing something that City has, and Chelsea just were found wanting. And it was a little bit of like we're still champions. It was a little bit of that kind of Tom Brady upstart team comes in, and Tom Brady when he's with the Patriots, he's like, just calm the fuck down. Bing, bang, boom, boom. We got this, okay? Just chill the fuck out. So that's City. And then while City's playing...
Well, hold on. We're going to talk about the better game of the early slate. But we're going to talk about our friend Joe first at Attitude of Gratitude Consulting because I, as we mentioned at the top of the show, am days away from my wedding. I'm staring down the barrel of this horrifying endeavor. But Joe started to explain to me some of the tax benefits of being married, so I'm kind of excited about that. No, he's been an awesome guy to have in my corner throughout this entire ordeal and process, which has been enjoyable and fun. I know I sound like a bastard, but no, Joe at Attitude of Gratitude Consulting is really taking care of me and Jess and everything we're trying to work through right now. So, and honestly, for stuff that comes next, it's the thing that he's kind of helped us keep an eye on is like, be where your feet are sort of thing, but always kind of have one eye, like what's coming down the road next a little bit, right? So don't do anything too stupid on your bachelor party, idiot. But yeah, so do us a favor, visit attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com for more information. You'll see an awesome landing page on the website with his phone number. Really, really approachable guy. So give him a call, tell him Mike and Laurent from Chop Sports sent you, and you'll be glad you did. So once again, that's attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com.
And you'll be glad you did, and you'll be glad that you're not a United fan.
That's right.
With a shitty coach
Oof.
who doesn't know what he's doing. Now, I know you think I just beat the dead horse, but
No, I can't.
he did it again.
I can't.
Yeah, so I did watch this whole game, especially on replay. I watched it after the fact. And United just didn't create anything because you know what? They don't have a way to play, and Aston Villa do. And they hired a throw-in coach that got them their goal late. Courtney Howes, who is in the lineup at the 3 at the back. Before City played Chelsea, Aston Villa already played the best game versus the best team in the league. Even though they lost 3-0, they were awesome versus Chelsea, which was weird. And Aston Villa looked like they were going to win this game 3 or 4 times. Ronaldo didn't really do anything. This game was more the Mason Greenwood is 19 years old and thinks that he's better than everyone on the field and would just shoot.
In fairness, the kids.
And that's fine. That's good. That's good. I mean, you want your striker to be that way, but there were a couple of passes that he passed up. I know that, no pun intended, but he had 6 shots, and United did have a chance to tie on a penalty. I'm shocked about that.
Let's dissect this because we just talked about.
But I'm just sort of going through the whole thing.
Yeah,
that,
I know.
That Fernandez missed.
Right. But so this is one that's more black and white somehow than the Tottenham foul that we were just talking about a little bit earlier. But handballs are still one thing. Fouls have become far more. The refereeing around them, I'd say, has become a lot more loose, a little bit more liberal on their interest in calling penalties, even when it goes to VAR. The handball rule is still way more black and white. Whether it is or it isn't, it's certainly being enforced far more black and white. And this is exactly what happens where, Bruno puts a ball into the box. It's a nothing burger, but here you go. I forget who. But
Cavani headed it to his arm.
I think right. I think it was Matty Cash, maybe.
Cavani. Oh, whose hand it hit?
Yeah.
Oh, it hit Howes, the guy who scored the goal, got the penalty called against him.
Okay.
Courtney Howes.
And so you're sitting there, and you're like, fine. Of course, you sort of say, of course, United, blah blah blah, but fine. Now, so the way that I read the situation, because since his arrival, Cristiano Ronaldo has been taking penalties, and he was on the field. But Bruno had been doing it before then too, and Ole said that both were capable, and he was happy to have both of them on the field taking penalties in a situation.
Be the fucking coach and say who takes them. You.
So I think and I do also think that in an attempt to kind of keep his stars happy and the wealth moving around, he effectively said, "Bruno, if you draw it, it's yours." And I don't know that, but that's kind of how it felt to me. And so Bruno Fernandes stepped up. And
after a good 30 seconds so there was a good 30 seconds of shithousing where all of the United players are around the box, and it's one of these things where, did someone scratch the penalty box with their cleats, the penalty spot? I don't know. But our friend and yours, Mr. Emi Martinez, who's basically now like a Latino villain, but he's got the Argentinian like we win at all costs thing. So here's the setup. Fernandez has the ball. He's putting it on his spot. There's a bunch of United players around him and Aston Villa players. They're sort of giving me a hard time. Martinez walks up to the penalty spot and is pointing through the crowd at Ronaldo. And you can clearly see him saying, "You take it. You take the penalty, Cristiano. I want to save it from you." So he's telling him, "I'm going to save a penalty from you." So all the time he's fucking with Fernandez. It all gets cleared out, and Fernandez.
But let's explore that a little bit more, just because I love him and I love the way that he does this. What he's saying, he's not. He's looking at Ronaldo. He's talking to Ronaldo. He's not talking to Ronaldo.
No, he's not.
He's effectively saying, "This guy next to me is dog shit. He doesn't even count. I don't even care enough about him to want him to take the penalty. I want to beat you because I know I can beat him. He's fucking irrelevant."
It's such great shithousing where you have this icon who clearly takes the air out of United. Like he's Cristiano. We talked about it, right? He's bigger than all the clubs in the Premier League combined.
Yep.
And he just kind of might be taking the air out of United in a weird way. And I respect Mason Greenwood he took 8 shots. You went on mute again. He took 8 shots, which is a fuck ton in a game.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. but the shot by Fernandez, he kicked it into like the third row, like
Well,
way
and that's
over the
exactly it,
bar.
right? He riled them up.
Yeah.
He,
And then Martinez did a dance, which was even better. Although, like in the run of play, one thing that did happen that really hurt United because they don't have a way to play. It's very much an individual moment thing. They lost Luke Shaw to an injury, and Shaw is their creative hub. Like when they get out from the back, the ball goes to Shaw, he runs it up, and he crosses it into the box. So that whole part of their offense was gone. Maguire went out somewhere in the first half as well. So they lost all their buildup that they normally have. Like they're not good enough or have a way to play enough that you can know what they're going to do. They're inconsistent because it only relies on, oh, look what Pogba did. Or, oh, look what Ronaldo did. Oh, look what Fernandez did. Now, it looks good, and they're really good. They have great players. But, we were talking about a minute ago how we don't know what Spurs are going to do. Arsenal are searching for their identity, and this was a game that gave them identity. We were talking about how City are interchangeable and kind of boring, a machine, because you literally know how they're going to play every time they play, right? Like the pieces don't matter. For United, the pieces are all that matter because you don't know what they're going to do. And that's down to coaching. And the pathetic display by Ole after the game of like, that should have been a penalty. I'm like, no, dude, you should never lose to Villa. You don't have the gravitas and the 15 trophies behind you like Ferguson. He tries to do the Ferguson shit. This is one of the things that Sir Alex Ferguson used to do. When he had everything in the bank, he would then attack the refs on games in the regular season when United would lose so that they would get the calls later. Mm-hmm. He has no gravitas. You just sound like you're bitching and whining. Mm-hmm. He's just not.
And look, you got the penalty. You got fair or not. You got the opportunity to steal a point that you otherwise didn't deserve, and you didn't use your worldwide superstar to put the ball in the net and kind of walk home. So,
that'll never happen again. Ronaldo's taking all the penalties.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
As a fantasy
now
owner,
there was one other thing. If I were a Leicester fan, I'd be pissed because Ollie Watkins was maybe interfering with the goalkeeper that was not called, so they didn't go to VAR to check it. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of interfering with the goalkeeper on the header. So that was one thing. But whatever. But
again, it's run of play things where they're letting the boys play more,
or the way VAR works. There has to be a call to be checked.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
so in the case of Leicester,
no, not necessarily.
They were flagged for offside and then checked. Or VAR has to say, "Hey, look at this."
Yes, but so going back to the Spurs example, that was a foul that was not called, but VAR still reviewed it. So that's not necessarily the case, right? So
I don't know. Then I don't know how the fuck it works. It doesn't make any sense.
Nobody does. But
it's fine. Just get rid of it and just go back to the old way where people complain. Because now they complain with VAR, so who cares?
I think the steps that the clubs have taken, or the league has taken, I should say, is better. Effectively doing a lot of that. I mean, we went from 2 to 3 plus VAR checks a game to maybe 1. I'm okay with that.
I love it. It's so
I'm
okay
with that. It's enough. It's still enough that I'm like, no, I think we should have had it that time.
Well, listen, I got my parlay because of 2 VAR calls.
Yeah, let's talk about your best bets. I missed the week, obviously, but so let's go into that.
I was a little bit all over the place. So I'm 5-10, but I went for a crazy parlay that I got 3/5 of. So I got my money line on Everton. I got the City win, and I got the Palace draw. I did not get Spurs really didn't play their part on my North London Derby draw.
They certainly didn't.
Because they didn't show up.
Nope.
And then I misread the under-over on Leeds over. I thought it was for the game, but maybe I didn't. I definitely thought they would score 2 goals. So I missed on an over for Leeds, which they almost had, but that was okay. My big win, and I tried to hedge by taking a City draw, money line straight, and the 1.5 West Ham. But my big thing that kept me alive for the week was I took the plus 700 Villa win against United, which covered all the bets. Now I'm 5-10, but I'm put in 100 and I'm up 150. So I'm at 230 in the bank.
There you go.
So far my bets have been I kind of have been hitting on big things and haven't
Right.
spent more than $10 on any bet.
Mhm.
So, if you've been betting with me, you're winning money.
It's
Now,
true.
your
It's a good
rates
point.
aren't great, but if every once in a while I find these nice these big hits like the Villa set plus 700, I just kind of knew I just don't trust United at
Yeah.
all. And I really trusted Villa. There was thought into this. Like after seeing Villa play Chelsea at home and how well they played and how much I know Dean Smith used to be the manager at Brentford. So whether he's an old school English manager or not, he got the gambler's dust on him from being at Villa. And the only reason he's not the guy who brought Brentford up is because the Villa job came up and he was a Villa fan. And he was like, oh, I'm going to leave. And now Thomas Frank is the coach at Brentford. He would have never been. He was their youth coach. And like, he was the right-hand man of Dean Smith,
Right.
like just helping the players. So I knew he had some of the shine and knew what to do, that he could nullify United. Because basically, if you're a good coach, you see United on your schedule and you go, I'll fucking beat these guys.
Right.
Yeah, right. Like
at least until Ole gets fired.
I don't think they won't fire him.
Well, they just extended him. They're 3-year
not firing
contract
him.
with an extension for I think a potential 4th-year option.
The only way they'll fire him is if the fans riot, and the fans won't riot.
Well, we've
because
seen that.
Well, literally, I mean, I don't mean literally riot. They already did that.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. They actually rioted.
Storm the field.
But I don't think Ole would get fired. All his cronies, like his friends, they'll never say they should fire him. Right? Like
No.
Gary Neville basically holds his job in his hands.
For how long though, right? If they go trophyless again this year, I mean,
he should be. But he'll get the year. Like if
he'll get the full year.
He'll get the full year, and then they'll sack him.
Yeah,
because they'll be in the top 4. Like this, they're too good. Like
I agree.
And Leicester's not good enough. West Ham's not. There's like the top 4 is nailed down already this year, unless Brentford fucking Brighton. Unless Brighton somehow
either one.
Brentford. You're saying Brentford for top 4. I think Thomas Frank would be a fucking better manager for United. I mean, it's just like, what are you doing?
No, you stay off that because Thomas Frank for Spurs is rumbling in my head. Yeah.
But maybe you'll find out that it actually is Levy, and Levy is ruining your team.
No. I wouldn't find out. I know that.
Oh, okay.
No, it's 100% his fault.
So do you have any other games you want to talk about from the list here? So I'll run through the scores.
Not really. I mean, we kind of walked through the big ones. There was 4 big matches, right? Like, do I care that Watford and Newcastle drew? No. One thing I'll bring up, as I mentioned, as a ailing Bruno Fernandes fantasy owner, we had a fantasy El Duchico that I just barely edged you and Chari out, which was good. It was sweet revenge for losing in the final last year to you goons. I got nothing from Harry Kane. I got very little from Alexander Arnold, but somehow I was able to pull it out. So I'm psyched about it.
Well, I'm going to mention the 2 games that I watched because I had money on them. Leeds West Ham was fun. I think we know what West Ham are. They are good. Antonio gassed, pulls that game out in the 90th minute.
Yeah, but again, they're going to lose.
Gassed.
They're going to be in the conversation for Europa again, which, by the way, they'll be thrilled to do. But I think that they're going to still, wherever we think that they will finish in a Premier League schedule with this team, you're going to have to take 5 points off because of Europe. At least
they're top, but that's a top 10 team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I had them right around the top 10 because I think I had Europe taxing them a little bit. And let's be clear, they had a lot of cosmic bullshit go their way late in games last year. So I'm taking
and they got another one, right? Mikel Antonio is like out of this world right now.
Yeah.
And they beat Leeds in a Leeds way. Leeds are really not deep enough to have injuries, and they have injuries.
Yeah.
So they played an 18-year-old. They're still running up and down. They're still playing well. It just Rafinha with a nice goal, but they have no wins. We have 6. Is it 6 winless teams? I just have to check.
I was going to say we're starting to get to
scary times.
Yeah, Leeds are in the relegation zone right now.
There are 6 teams with no wins. Southampton, 5. Newcastle, 5. Southampton, Newcastle, Leeds, Burnley and Norwich.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the best of them, Southampton's probably the best one.
Yeah.
It's actually ranked appropriately.
Yeah.
Although we still trust we still trust that Leeds and Burnley will get out of this. But who's going to replace them is the problem,
that's
right?
the question, right?
There's too many good teams is the problem.
Southampton
right?
have looked better than I expected. Crystal Palace significantly better than I
I
expected.
told you Crystal Palace was going to be.
Yeah, no, you nailed that. One game I do want to chat about quickly.
I got to think Watford will pull down into the bottom.
Yes, definitely. But Burnley Leicester was a fun one. My brother and friends put a little bit on Leicester second half. I did not publicize this before the game, obviously, but Leicester down 2-1 at the break. We took Leicester second half. Jamie Vardy left it late before he was having a party. He got his second of the day in the 85th, but late on, and I forget who the defender was. It might have actually been Vestergaard, and I had been singing his praises for a while, ever since they signed him.
I think it was
not
Vestergaard.
Great Bob. Really, really tough outing for him.
Yeah.
The ball's so it's like the 93rd minute. The ball is to the left of the Leicester penalty area, and all you got to do is just hoof it down the field and get rid and set yourself back up. He just pops it up, and it goes about 15 yards of actual distance. It goes really high.
It was Vestergaard.
And I saw it go up, and I went, "Oh, that's not what you want at all." And
Bad
35
clearance.
seconds later, bang, bang, one of these shit Burnley bounces, header off the post and in, and there was just silence in the room because we had just lost. We went from we got a great late smash and grab win to a horrible smash and grab bad beat. And then my friend and yours, VAR, got involved, and they ruled the goal off. So we had another celebration. That was one of the highlights of the weekend. Believe it or not, we had a fun time with that one. But
yeah. I think Rodgers is taking too long to figure out that Iheanacho is his number 10 or his 9.5, as we like to call him.
Right.
He didn't play Maddison this time and went with Lookman up front. But I think once he figures out that he needs to play Iheanacho and Vardy, they'll start to play better. I also think that they've missed Johnny Evans in the back because he's the guy who's like, he's old, he has championships, he plays out, but they don't look like a team that's going to finish in the top 5 again.
Well, two things about their back. Like Castagna and Pereira have either been varying degrees of hurt or returning from injury.
Right. They subbed for each other this game.
Yeah. And so neither of them is quite right yet. It's sort of a makeshift back line for Leicester.
I think that, we called out Daka early in the transfer window as a player that, was a classic Leicester find, and they're just not playing him. So it's really frustrating to see. And then Barnes had 6 shots, only 1 on target. He needs to get firing. Listen, they have good players. They're better. They're not going anywhere. But if we had dreams of anyone cracking the top 4 in England, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Now, everything's really close. They're all on 13 points and blah, 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 blah. Everton's still there and Brighton are still there on 13. I just love to see it.
But Leicester's all the way down in 13th with 7 points. So, I mean,
it'll shake out. I think
it will shake out. But, I mean, look, if you're behind the horses by 6 points already, that's not going to get any easier.
It could be one of these seasons where, like, the league is 1 on 90 and the top 4 are, like, stretched between, 85 and 80. I mean, 80 is a big number. Usually the team that finishes in 4th usually finishes 75. In the 70s, 70. Yeah. So we'll see. I had one other game that I had to call out, which was Palace Brighton, the M25 derby. We'll give it short shrift. Palace again played really, really well, deserved to win. They were up a goal on a penalty kick right at the death by my guy Conor Gallagher drawing the penalty because that's what he does. He's a fucking all-action destroyer of worlds. Zaha finished. Then, Brighton were huffing and puffing, just didn't have enough pace in the side. No Basuma, and you could tell. No Basuma, no party. It reminded me of City when Yaya wouldn't play. I was looking for that big African super machine in the middle of the pitch, and he just wasn't there. And I was like, oh, no wonder Brighton sucks. Their best player is not fucking playing.
Right.
And they never did bring in Lamptey, but they do have a nice fullback in Mark Cucurella, who's got this big afro and he runs up and down, kind of a better version of who is that weird French boofy-haired guy that Arsenal had that choked Moped and they shipped him off to Marseille? Guendouzi. He's kind of got the Guendouzi look going on.
He's a shit David Luiz.
Yeah. He's got the Guendouzi all action without the madness. But in the 95th minute, clearance by Gaeta, shanks it. Veltman,
Joel Veltman, yeah.
One touch volley into Mopé, who chips the keeper, and all fucking hell breaks loose because he taunts the entirety of Crystal Palace. They run off the field. The fans start throwing flares. There is literal violence. There's a fight in this. Raya starts fighting with Zaha. So Crystal Palace and Brighton did live up to its shithousery. And Mopé's just a real son of a bitch. He's the kind of guy who fucks your girlfriend. He really
you
is.
Know what? So is Zaha. And I was so happy to see him put one on those pricks. Because you know what? I like Crystal Palace. But man,
you don't like him. Yeah, but you know what? If he was on your team, you'd like him.
Yeah, but he's not.
I feel like him and Vardy would be like a racist buddy cop movie. Like right? And they just like, I'm too tired for this shit. And Vardy be like,
come on, Riggs.
It just like, I feel like Zaha and Vardy just need to be together somewhere. Because it's just like grumpy shithousery. Like, no, you didn't pass to me, you fucking cracker bitch.
Lethal Weapon 8 London Calling, starring Jamie Vardy and Wilfred Zaha. That's fantastic. Wow. Because
they kind of are mirror images of each other. Like,
with Emmy Martinez as the villain.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like in a penalty shootout to finish the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he would, but Martinez would do it in a Speedo with the Argentine flag on his ass.
Yes.
That was how he would do penalty. Because he'd like take his shirt off and just wear boots and a Speedo and do penalties.
Yeah.
With scars.
Listen, I'm pretty sure we could get this movie greenlit. Like, that's a script. It's a winner.
But Zaha Vardy together is just like, there's just players that should be together because they would hate each other.
Yeah.
I think that's how we have to go.
Let's go.
All right. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network and part of Fan Hub, too. I forgot about that. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. If you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show so that you can help us grow. We've been growing without any help, so just help anyway.
Next time you see us, we will be in the same room, weirdly enough.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm going to New York on Thursday. So the Thursday show will be, I don't know when I'm going to do it, though.
We'll figure it out.